February 18, 2001. Daytona International Speedway. The final lap of the Daytona 500. 20,000 horsepower thundered through Turn 3 as the field charged toward the checkered flag. At the front, Michael Waltrip led. Right behind him was Dale Earnhardt Jr. and sitting in third place, blocking the pack with surgical precision, was Dale Earnhardt Sr., the Intimidator. Behind them, chaos was forming. Sterling Marlin, two-time Daytona 500 champion, was low on the inside lane. Ken Schrader was high. Rusty Wallace, Bill Elliott, Ricky Rudd, Jeremy Mayfield, all closing fast. 3 wide at nearly 180 miles per hour. This was Daytona racing at its most dangerous and most familiar. Then, in less than 3 seconds, everything changed. As the cars entered Turn 4, Dale Earnhardt moved down slightly to block. Sterling Marlin held his line on the inside. Their cars made the slightest contact, a tap so common in restrictor plate racing that it barely registered. But this time, Dale Earnhardt's car got loose. He dipped onto the apron, overcorrected, shot back up the track, and slammed nearly head-on into the concrete wall. Ken Schrader had nowhere to go. He hit Earnhardt's car and pushed it into the infield grass. The checkered flag waved. Michael Waltrip won the Daytona 500. Dale Jr. finished second. But no one was celebrating. In Turn 4, emergency crews rushed toward a black number 3 Chevrolet that wasn't moving. Sterling Marlin somehow kept his car straight, skating across the apron at full speed, and crossed the finish line in 5th. Later, he would say it was pure luck he didn't crash too. At that moment, he didn't know his friend was already gone. Hours later, NASCAR President Mike Helton delivered the announcement that shattered the sport. This is undoubtedly one of the toughest announcements I've ever had to make. After the accident in Turn 4, we've lost Dale Earnhardt. Dale Earnhardt Sr. was dead at 49 years old. The man who seemed indestructible. 7-time champion. The face of NASCAR. The racing world went into shock. And almost immediately, grief turned into anger. Fans needed someone to blame. And Sterling Marlin's name rose to the surface. To understand why, you need to understand who Sterling Marlin was, and who Dale Earnhardt was to him. Sterling Marlin wasn't a nobody. He was NASCAR royalty. The son of Cuckoo Marlin, Sterling had grown up in the sport. He made his Cup Series debut at 19, won Rookie of the Year in 1983, and endured nearly 300 starts before finally breaking through with a win. That win came at the biggest race of them all, the Daytona 500. Then he did it again. Back-to-back Daytona 500 victories in 1994 and 1995. By 2001, Sterling was a respected veteran. Tough, clean, and relentless. And Dale Earnhardt? He wasn't just competition. He was a mentor. A friend. A legend everyone measured themselves against. 3 years earlier, Earnhardt had finally won his first Daytona 500 after 20 years of trying. The entire garage celebrated with him. Even his rivals felt that moment. Now, in 2001, Dale wasn't racing for himself. He was protecting his teammates. His son, Dale Jr., and Michael Waltrip were running first and second. Dale Sr. was the shield, blocking the pack behind him. Sterling Marlin was simply doing what racers do, trying to win. Within 24 hours of the crash, the threats began. Sterling Marlin's website was flooded with thousands of emails. Many of them violent. "I'll kill you, Sterling." Someone spray-painted death threats on his trailer. Phone calls came into his race shop in Mooresville, North Carolina, threatening not just him, but his wife and family. Chip Ganassi Racing stationed a police officer at the shop for protection. Sterling Marlin went into seclusion. He was grieving the loss of a friend, and being blamed for his death. 2 days later, Sterling broke his silence. "I definitely didn't do anything intentional," he said. "We were just racing our guts out on the last lap of the Daytona 500. He described the chaos. 3 wide. No room. Barely any contact. "When you run across the apron at Daytona at 180 miles an hour, Marlin said, you usually don't come back. It was pure luck that I did. Then he shared something that stunned reporters. Just weeks before the race, Sterling and Dale had talked about death, about the risks they accepted every time they buckled in. Dale Earnhardt had told him, "If I ever get killed in a race car, I don't want nobody crying and moaning. It's what I love to do. Don't worry about it." But the anger didn't disappear. Not yet. As the days passed, something crucial happened. Dale Earnhardt Jr. stepped forward. Just days after losing his father, Jr. publicly defended Sterling Marlin. "Any blame placed on Sterling Marlin or anyone else is ridiculous," he said, "and it will not be tolerated." Michael Waltrip echoed the same message. NASCAR launched a full investigation, and the conclusion was clear. This was a racing incident. Nothing intentional. Nothing reckless. Nothing that could have been avoided in that split second. Sterling Marlin was officially cleared. But the investigation revealed something far more disturbing. Dale Earnhardt did not die simply because of the impact. The cause was a basilar skull fracture, an injury caused by violent forward movement of the head during a sudden stop. And the reason that movement occurred: his seat belt failed. The broken restraint allowed Earnhardt's head to snap forward with catastrophic force. In the 8 months before Earnhardt's death, 3 other drivers had died from the same injury: Adam Petty, Kenny Irwin Jr., and Tony Roper. NASCAR had a safety crisis. Dale Earnhardt's death forced the sport to finally confront it. Change came fast. The Hans device, a head and neck restraint system, became mandatory. Safer barriers were installed at tracks. Seat belt standards were upgraded. Car construction was redesigned. And in the more than 20 years since, there has not been a single fatality in NASCAR's top series. That is not coincidence. That is legacy. Through all of this, Sterling Marlin kept racing. And remarkably, 2001 became one of the best seasons of his career. 2 wins, 12 top 5 finishes, 20 top 10 finishes, 3rd in the championship standings. After being blamed for the death of NASCAR's greatest star, Sterling Marlin went out and performed at the highest level of his career. He returned to Daytona that summer and won the pole. Dale Earnhardt Jr. won the race. Life moved forward, but the weight never fully lifted. Years later, on Dale Jr.'s podcast, Sterling Marlin still didn't want to talk about the crash in depth. Jr. later admitted that Sterling never truly got over that day. Even after being cleared, even after being forgiven, Sterling Marlin's career stands on its own. 2-time Daytona 500 champion, 10 Cup Series wins, over 740 starts, named one of NASCAR's 75 greatest drivers. But his greatest legacy might be something else entirely: grace. He never lashed out, never blamed anyone else, never hid from the truth. He carried a burden that wasn't his and kept going. There are lessons in this story. Grief makes people search for someone to blame. But sometimes accidents are just accidents. Sterling Marlin didn't kill Dale Earnhardt. A broken seatbelt and outdated safety standards did. And because of that tragedy, countless drivers are alive today. Dale Earnhardt once said he accepted the risks. He lived on his own terms. Fearless, competitive, and free. Sterling Marlin honored that. He kept racing. He kept living. And he kept doing what they both loved. That is how legends are remembered.